We are now getting ready to end the session, but before we do that, I'd like to bring on Dr. Darren Conrad to give the vote of thanks, and I'd also like to say at the end of our 10th year, as we move into the 11th year of COTE next academic year, Dr. Darren Conrad is now going to take over as chair of the COTE committee for the Department of Economics. So let's welcome him.
At this point, it is my privilege, actually, to have been asked to propose this vote of thanks on this occasion, the 10th iteration of the COTE conference. I would like to thank our opening ceremony speakers, namely the Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences, Professor Honoree Bissessa, our feature speaker, Dr. Terence Farrell, Chairman of the Economic Development Board, of course, for his lively and thought-provoking address. And I am sure those of you who were here can acknowledge that it provided a fertile ground for research ideas moving forward. And of course, last but not least, Dr. Honoree Mohammed, current head of the Department of Economics. Again, on this 10th anniversary of the COTE conference, we have honored Mr. Martin Franklin, Mr. Franklin. So at this point, I would like to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Franklin and by extension his family for his outstanding scholarship and leadership in the Department of Economics, and by extension the University of the West Indies, and of course his dedicated and impactful service to the national and regional community. And I would say after yesterday's proceedings, I was a bit tired, only to see Mr. Franklin don his other hat and proceed to teach after a lengthy day. So I said, well, let me go to the office and try to do something. But I didn't make it back. I would like to thank all of the speakers for giving of their time and experience in shaping the discussion around the issue of economic diversification. I know the 10 minutes may have seemed a bit short, but I think you all of them ought to be commended on having used that effectively in discussing issues around diversification. More importantly, this was done against the backdrop of sound and rigorous theoretical constructs in the various disciplines as we heard being delivered. And I hope that the discussion doesn't end here, but it propels us into action within our various organizations and communities. It is with a deep sense of gratitude that I also extend my thanks to Mr. Roger McLean, current chair of the COTE Planning Committee, and his team, Mr. Dindyal Ramratan, Ms. Jennifer Jones-Morales, Ms. Nia Sipal, Ms. Liana Brown, and last but not least, Janelle Singh and Vibha Singh of the Economics Student Society. I would also like to take this opportunity to place on record our hearty thanks to the following persons whom, without their technical and logistical support, the conference and all of its related activities would not have been possible. And they are the staff at the Office of Marketing and Communications, and it's no order of significance because everyone's input was equally significant and tremendous. The staff of the Learning Resource Center, all of our service providers, caterers, audio technicians, and photographers, our dedicated conference assistant, Mr. Leon Henry, Mrs. Roxanne Brazane St. Martin, whose enthusiasm in giving her time and energy to support the COTE youth activities was truly inspiring. And if you were here yesterday, you would have seen that there was a large contingent of secondary school students, which was very heartwarming, because they can now have had the opportunity to see what we do here at the University of the West Indies, which has sort of encouraged them to become part of this institution. I would also like to thank the volunteers, all of the volunteers who included the fellow lecturers, instructors, teaching assistants, current and graduating MSc class students, Economic Student Society, and the general student population. Thank you for your tremendous efforts and commitment and dedication in giving of your time. It is greatly appreciated. I would also like to thank the Secretariat of the Department of Economics, and I must first start by thanking Mr. Jordan, who works tirelessly. And I say that I think I'm sitting in the proceedings and just watching Joel try to get everything done and running around, I get tired. And it doesn't end there. I wake up at 1 a.m. and there's a note in my inbox from Joel. And I'm wondering, does he even sleep? So I try not to respond, hoping that he would think I'm sleeping, so go sleep. And he does that with a great deal of enthusiasm and passion. So thank you, Mr. Jordan. I'd also like to thank Ms. Bernadette Hamlet, Ms. Christine Antoine, Ms. Ruth Worrell, Garen Victor, Nkosi Mark, and Rennie Lopez for their enormous cooperation in organizing this event. And I must say that within the last few weeks when they were in full COTE mode, that every time I walked into the office, everyone was engaged in something related to COTE, whether it was on the phone, and I became irrelevant because COTE was the priority. So it was okay. I tried to figure it out. But it was really great to see that sense of cooperation. I cannot thank everyone enough for their involvement and their willingness to take on the completion of tasks beyond their comfort zones. Thank you, everyone. Special thanks, of course, to our sponsors, Atlantic LNG and the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago and British Gas, who provided scholarships for secondary school students to be able to participate. We thank you very much for that. The Unit Trust Corporation, Kiss Baking Company, and SM Jalil Company Limited, who supported by providing in-kind contributions by way of their products for our Youth Day. The financial sponsors NGC, the Faculty of Social Sciences, Trade and Economic Development Unit, and the Center for Health Economics. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to state that we are very grateful to you all, and we thank you for being with us. It has been a great pleasure. Thank you all very much. And at this point, I would like to now call on our honoree, Mr. Franklin. No, you're not getting away without saying anything. So to come and give us his remarks, Mr. Franklin.
Thank you very much, Dr. Conrad. Dean, Head of Department, fellow members of academia, ladies and gentlemen. These past 2 days, or these past 1.5 days, really have been quite an interesting experience for me, and I trust it has also been for you. It has focused on this elusive challenge of diversification for us here in Trinidad and Tobago, and to some extent, by extension, the Caribbean. Some issues and some insights stay with me, and I trust that these will stay with you as well. We began with the opening remarks from Dean Bisessa, and in those remarks, she reminded us that we economists can't solve the problems by ourselves. We need to bring the disciplines together to collaborate. And interestingly, that theme seemed to have resounded throughout the rest of yesterday and more specifically today. And so in that regard, I want to congratulate the planning committee for the conference in expanding the bounds a bit and bringing to the conference speakers from the criminology discipline, from the language and linguistics discipline, from the international relations discipline, and from the food and agriculture discipline. The collaboration, that's just the start and just the tip of the iceberg. We have to find a way to extend this kind of collaboration beyond the halls of LRC. And it has got to find its way in every nook and cranny of the campus. And it has got to find its way in every community across the country. If I'm to take a page from Hayden Blades yesterday when he posed the question, what is the role of civil society in diversification? And that's a very significant issue which we've got to face. I say we've got to take it to the to every corner of the campus, because I remember when we were at academic board a few years ago and we were looking at bringing back the two faculties of food and agriculture, splitting the faculty back into a separate one for food and agriculture and a separate one for the natural sciences. I made the point that when you put the university under a microscope, what you see students reading economics, you see students doing marketing, students doing business comm within the Faculty of Humanities and Education. You see people doing mechanical engineering and agricultural engineering in the Faculty of Engineering. You see people doing electrical engineering and electronics in that same faculty. You see people doing nutrition. You see people doing food science and crop science and so on. Why is it? And how come, at the end of the day, we are not seeing students developing an affinity among themselves whereby they meet and ideas are spawned, ideas which they will obviously need help in commercializing. And to me, that's a serious issue if we're talking diversification. Henry Bailey yesterday he opened the window a little bit there for us in terms of a way out. He says, listen, you got to go past the replicative businesses, but you've got to refocus on incubator and support programs. I think that as a university, we've got to look again at the way in which we organize the delivery of our programs. The bulk of our students are on campus for 2 semesters and they're off for the long summer period. And maybe we've got to somehow craft an incubator system, an innovation system, whereby students can use that 3rd period of the year to their benefit. Because we all know the semester system where we teach for 12 weeks and exams begin in the 13th week does not allow for any activity of that kind in the first 2 semesters of the year. So curriculum reform certainly is one of the things that came out loud and clear. Behavioral economics, that was mentioned so many times. So Dr. Farrell's speech and a few other speakers over the past day and a half. The reform of the wider education system, that's something we've heard ad nauseum. One of the things that was reverberating through a lot of the presentations was the need for localized economic development. And I also saw a strong plea for networking of academia, business, and government if we are to move forward. We came face to face with, of course, the challenge of conceptualization and implementation. And somehow those 2 things have just eluded us in this thrust towards diversification. Also the policy framework deficiency, which Vassal Stewart placed before us, and to some extent Umadat Maraj earlier today. But a big one for us is clearly the need to change mindset. And the most recent speaker to that was, of course, Catherine Kumar, and to some extent Gregory Maguire in the panel earlier on. And I think that this particular period in the economy provides a fantastic opportunity for this focus on changing people's mindset. It's no easy job. I am not going to suggest that that's easy. And to me, the biggest challenge of our politicians at this point in time is to craft a mechanism whereby they can leave their offices for some period of the day, of the week, and take off their jackets and roll up their sleeves and get back into their communities and sit down manos, meet people where they are and take them from where they are to another nudge that takes us a little bit closer. But that discussion is really focused on changing mindset from where they are now to where we want them to go. So the civil society dialogue, as deceased Dennis Panton will say, is a critical component in this regard. And then the immaturity of our politics, whereby we dismantle all that is good that has been created by one government in power, and when we change, we dismantle, and we start all over again. It's something that I reflected on yesterday during yesterday's presentations, particularly when Mr. Green was talking, and again today. And it was a bit of music to the ears to hear Vassal Stewart say. One way possibly around this is that when you've taken when you've invested the resources and you've done the thing right, and you've come up with a particular policy for a medium-term strategy, that somehow it may have to be vested in legislation so as to ensure that the other side doesn't dismantle it as easy as we have seen them do over the past. And so I think if there's one thing we walk away from this conference would be some of those roadmaps and insights that have been provided by Mr. Green in his presentation on cultural and creative goods and services sector. The presentation from Dr. Sin Martin et al. This morning on innovation in the area of waste. Mr. Vassal Stewart, Vassal has been a voice crying in the wilderness. This is not the first time that Vassal has been on COTE. This is probably his second or third time. And he has flagged to us, he's put up before us cassava, he's put up before us herbs and spices, and he's put up before us the baking industry. And then last but by no way least in terms of those roadmaps and insights and experiences was the experience of Gregory Maguire in his attempt to brand and commercialize a brand of beverage. So we've got to think outside of the box. And I think the point that was made by Catherine, I think, a while ago is while we're thinking, I think it was Omadat Miraj, that while we are thinking outside the box, there's still a requirement for us to optimize what is inside of the box. And as a mathematician, I would obviously like to use the word optimize. Finally, I have been chair of COTE for 6 years, and I know the substantial effort that is required to make a conference of this nature a success. And I really sincerely appreciate the efforts, the support of the head of department, the efforts of the person who has been my co-chair for quite a few years, Roger McLean. Is Roger here? No, Roger McLean, and this time around, Dr. Darren Conrad. Special thanks to you. Special thanks to the committee. I am always enthused by the opportunity that this conference provides to members of our Economic Student Society at the undergraduate level and our graduate MSc students in terms of the experience of participating and understanding what it takes to deliver something like this. And so I was very proud and elated to see the energy of this year's Economic Student Society. And I want to ask you to give them a round of applause. And it was a big problem for me as I visit the campus over the past few weeks. I would enter the office and I would go straight to my mailbox. I don't really want my eye to somehow lean and somehow look at what Joel and the others were doing, because I think to them it would have robbed them of the element of surprise which I'm sure they were trying to create for me. It wasn't easy to do, but I did it as best as I can, and I am really very, very satisfied with what they were able to put together. And once again, I say thanks to them, and I say thanks to you for coming and sharing this event with me and with the Department of Economics. I trust that you will continue to support COTE and that we will find the formula, again the mathematician coming out there, but the formula by which we could continue the dialogue within the campus and in the community. Thanks again. God bless everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. Franklin. I believe Hayden Blaze would like to make an announcement.
Hi, good afternoon again, everyone. I just wanted to encourage you. We're attempting to revitalize the Trinidad and Tobago Economics Association. And as Mr. Franklin just mentioned, the importance of continuing the dialogue and changing of the mindset. Well, if you are interested, please join us in the Social Sciences Lounge. We are hoping to put together a small team of people who will then advance the cause of the TTEA. We're hoping that this will be an opportunity for a number of you who are interested in changing the dialogue about the way in which we manage our resources and the strategies and policies that we develop, that you will want to be a part of all of that. So please join us as soon as the session is officially completed, and we'll gladly have you at the Social Sciences Lounge. Thank you.